When it comes to great athletes, the great ones do it in more than one discipline. And they create a legend that lives on through their actions, their deeds, their impact, and it's driven by their personality, helped by sponsors, and they create a lasting impression on us, the fans. No one defines this more than Barrett Christy. Yeah, Barrett. She brought the X Games to life. And she inspired generations of riders, both professional and recreational. Watching her compete was like watching somebody surf on a cloud. She flew high above the decks of the half pipe, high above the fans over their heads with perfection, doing tricks that others didn't even think were possible. In a sport that's driven by progression, she was always one step ahead. She set new records, won more medals, signed pivotal endorsement contracts, all with her vibrant personality and laid-back style. The sport of snowboarding owes her a debt of gratitude for her groundbreaking new tricks and years of winning, but as well for her soft, laid-back personality, positive demeanor, and enthusiasm. And all night we've been talking about how skiing and snowboarding is a generational sport. And for me, watching her family ride and glide around Whiteface yesterday from the west, having a ball, illustrated the generational passion that is ingrained in that family. For the last half century, Barrett Christy's name, accomplishments, and products have made her a fan favorite that has defined snowboarding. And this video will show you why.
Hey.
6 pretty steep.
Barrett Christy's career left an indelible mark on snowboarding through her competitive achievements and her influential roles in mentoring and shaping the industry over 3 decades. With 11 X Games medals, she pioneered the landscape of women's snowboarding. At the 1997 X Games, she made history as the first female athlete to win gold in 2 disciplines at the same game, winning big air and slopestyle, a mark that remained unbroken for 27 years. 2 years later, she became the first female snowboarder to have a trick named after her. It marked a cultural shift in the sport and led her to being named Trans World Snowboarding Female Rider of the Year. Her impact transcended the sport as she became a household name and a cultural icon. When snowboarding made its Olympic debut in 1998, Christy was part of the historic U.S. Olympic team, gracing magazines from Glamour to Women's Outside and being one of Cosmopolitan's 12 women who rocked our year. Her Nike signature shoe, the Air Barrett Christy, helped boost the profile of women in the industry. She also impacted the sport as an innovator in her work with canoe. Her signature pro model, the B Pro, is the longest-running women's pro model in history, a testament to her continuing influence.
I can't believe I'm old enough for a Legends Award. I grew up having nothing to do with snowboarding. I didn't know about snowboarding until I had left high school. I was 19 when I started. It was just one step at a time, and I feel like everything fell into place, and I feel so fortunate to have been a pro snowboarder in the 90s.
Today, she serves as an advisor for GNU, Lib, Roxy, and Mervyn, where she continues to influence brand strategy, marketing, and product development. The career of Barrett Christy Cummins is a testament to her resilience, creativity, and commitment to advancing women's snowboarding. And we welcome her into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow on you, here in the Olympic Village of Lake Placid, our country's highest snow sports award, the Hall of Fame Medal of Honor, and confer upon you from this day forward induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. Wow. I could just stand up there and watch that video forever. You guys did such a great job. Thank you to the entire U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, and thank you guys for coming out. I mean, it's been a long time since I've accepted an award, so forgive me if I'm a little out of practice. It might be my last, too, so. Oh, I gotta go back. I'll get the hang of this, I promise. I wasn't even nervous, and now look at me. Okay, thank you. I want to thank all the inductees. Congratulations to all the inductees, but thank you for paving the way for myself and all the future generations. I've heard this theme over and over again tonight. It's the associations. It's the community that drew us all in, and it's certainly the case for me. The best part of this journey has been the friendships and the partnerships, and I definitely want to call out my table over there, and I'm so grateful for you guys for coming. I have my friend Chris, who was one of my big supporters, designing my bindings, helping me out. He wasn't my sponsor. It wasn't the brands that I felt drawn to. It was the people, and it always was that way. Even with my sponsors that paid me, it was the people behind it. That's why I wanted to be a part of their companies, and why I stayed and was lucky enough to have so many long-term sponsors. Becky and Tim, thank you for coming. Those guys are bigger fans of snowboarding than me, even. And my beautiful family, Temple and Cannon and Isla. And Temple I met through snowboarding. If it weren't for the sport, you kids wouldn't be here. I want to call out the fact that our community of snowboarding is really hurting from loss this week. We lost some really special pillars of the community in an avalanche. And Jeff and Alex and Jason, not everybody gets to get recognized while they're still here. And I'm all the more grateful to get this recognition while I'm still here, but there's a lot of people who don't get honored for the contributions they've made to the industry until it's too late, maybe. My parents aren't here tonight, but I really want to thank them for pouring belief into me when they didn't even know what a snowboard was, and I came home from a trip to California, and I was like, I'm going to be a pro snowboarder. And I grew up in Pennsylvania. They had no idea. They didn't even ski, really. So they knew that my passion was all-consuming, and they supported me, and that means the world. And my sponsors early on, I really borrowed their belief when I didn't necessarily have it myself. I'm grateful for, those long-term sponsors, Liptech, GNU, Nike, Air Blaster. They were, like I said, it was the people, and it really is such an honor to have these relationships that have been with me for 30 years now, and I'm grateful to the sport for that. And I really want to thank everybody in leadership here who has made decisions, even those of you not here, but there's people in leadership that made decisions that helped snowboarding thrive as opposed to self-destruct. And there were a lot of times when snowboarding probably could have self-destructed, and it's the people making the decisions that allowed, supportive events and media and athletes and women athletes that have really created opportunities both for my generation and future generations. I realize I have a lot of slides, so I'm going to talk for a while. Sorry. Snowboarding in the 90s was super alternative. You remember that? It wasn't like, I don't even know if we were action sports then. We were like the alternative sport. And it was fitting. I've always been a dreamer. I've always been more of a big dreamer than an action planner. And, before we can do something, we must be something, which means our self-image sets the boundary of our performance. And, I really felt like I dreamed of snowboarding because of the lifestyle and because of the community. I didn't have, dreams of fame or fortune, because that really wasn't a thing in snowboarding, but it was the dream of adventure and community, and that's what made me want to be a part of it. Clarity comes when you combine a thought with an emotional connection. I had an emotional connection the first time I saw snowboarding, and the thought that I could do it because I saw other women before me doing it. So many incredible people and opportunities showed up when I focused on this dream. Oh. I saw Dan do this, and I thought, I'm not going to do that. Okay. The past shouldn't define who we are or who we will become. Always felt that way, and it's funny, I'm up here talking about the past right now, but progress is born from lessons of the past, but the past lays the foundation to rewrite the rules and stretch what's possible. And right now we're seeing what's possible with the women in snowboarding, in the sport today, and they're constantly pushing it's so far beyond what I ever would have thought is possible when I was doing this. And so I love to see the progress continuing. I grew up skiing in PA a little bit. I don't know if any of you guys are from New Jersey, but there was a little mountain called Lambertville, New Jersey, called Bell Mountain. It was on a garbage dump, and it was had a really sketchy rope tow and an even sketchier chairlift, and that was probably the first time my dad took me skiing, and I owe my ski background to a family friend who took me up to Killington and Stowe, and really instilled in me the love of the mountains. Skiing never clicked. I was never any good at it, but I definitely identified as a skier. I wanted to be, a mountain girl, I guess, and I wore those lift tickets on my CP jacket at school all year long. So I claimed it, but I took a road trip after high school and drove across the country, going to dead shows along the way, and ended up in Lake Tahoe. My mom had gifted me an Outward Bound course after high school, and I really credit that course for teaching me independence, some soft survival skills, and just the love of getting out, throwing myself out there to do the unexpected and just see what happens. So once my heart was set on moving west, I landed in South Lake Tahoe. I did not meet Jimbo then, but I did meet Sean Palmer, Andy Hetzel, Tina Bassage, and those guys were having way more fun than me. I was still struggling on my skis, but just witnessing that lifestyle and that culture, I knew I wanted to be a part of it, and South Lake Tahoe in 1990 was the right place to be. So snowboarding has provided so many life lessons. I'm sure you guys have felt this too with skiing, but these apply to life, business, and sport. Number one is overcoming fear and frustration. When you focus on where you're going, you can feel the win before it's achieved. And you know, we always acknowledge risk, but you never want to focus on the fear. You acknowledge it and you get through it. And you know, snowboarding taught me that. Also, mental toughness, resilience, strategy, overcoming approval addiction. I mean, nobody approved of snowboarding, at least where I grew up in the 90s. And you know, it was really important to get over myself and get over that and just follow my passion. So there were no Olympic goals in my future. I mean, Olympics weren't a thing that we were even thinking about when I started, and it wasn't seen as a legitimate athletic goal. You know, fear of falling when the stakes get high, fear of letting down sponsors. They literally bought into the hype, right? If they're sponsoring you, they pay you to be the best. And so just trying over the years to not let that fear get in the way and to overcome that. I had a really epic season in 1997. I won the US Open half pipe and the X Games, the big air and the slope style. I made the Olympic team in 98 to go to the Olympics for half pipe. And the hype was set. I made it to the Olympics and I didn't make the finals. I had the fear of failure before I even focused on what I needed to do to win. But that frustration fueled the next few years of my career, and that brought me way more success. And it lit the fire under me, and with each goal, the vision got more clear, and it all got to be more fun. Our greatest challenges can really be our biggest opportunities. You all know this, we are the sum of the people we spend the most time with. And when you put yourself in the environment of success, you know, around people without limiting beliefs, like all of you guys, you got to level up your conviction and sometimes borrow confidence from. After I lived in Tahoe for 2 seasons, I moved to Crested Butte, Colorado. I don't know if any of you guys know Crested Butte. It is the best mountain in Colorado. But I spent time with people that were way better at riding than me, definitely better at skiing than me, better at biking, partying, breathing at altitude, and you know, some even managed to graduate from college. I did not. But I had a snowboard. My first real sponsor was a snowboard shop called Colorado Border, and a rep for LibTech came into town, and he believed in me. We rode together, and he sponsored me with a board, gave me a board, and just that one person believing in me and that one brand that started that, you know, started me on that trajectory of starting to level up how I thought about myself and what I thought I could do. It changed the trajectory for me, and I'm so grateful. I lived after Crested Butte, I moved to Vail and spent most of my competitive years there, 10 years, and definitely rode with people that were a lot better than me and made friends for life. Everyone pushed each other and leveled up what was possible. Temple, I probably met Temple around that time. My husband, he's from Washington. He did not like Colorado. But Mount Baker was his favorite mountain, still is. He still spends a lot of time there, so does Cannon. And riding there with him made me a better snowboarder. And my best competition memory always will be the bank slalom, where we both won the pro division in 2001 together. It was kind of romantic. Cannon almost won it this year. He's going to, though. Okay. Snowboarding taught me about mentorship and to see myself as a leader. So the greatest leaders I learned from in snowboarding were other women. Tina Bassett, Shannon Dunn, who were Hall of Fame members, Cersei Wallace, Michelle Taggart, Morgan LaFont, Megan Pischke. They all shared knowledge without expectation of returns. They set the bar high for themselves, but they created space for others to succeed, most importantly. Michelle was my travel agent when we were both competing for the same spot on the Olympic team, and there was only a few spots. And but she, helped me navigate international travel, and I wasn't an international competitor until the Olympics came up, and I decided it was worth trying. In 1994, I blew my knee out showing off on a dance floor without health insurance. Okay, and my friends Morgan and Megan supported me, and we were also competing for very limited sponsorship opportunities as women. There weren't, everybody had maybe a token girl on the team, but there weren't a lot of opportunities. But it was really the friendships and the support and that made the biggest difference in my career. Tina and Shannon both started boarding for breast cancer. That was not a selfish endeavor. They did that to create, they were on a mission to help people and raise awareness about breast cancer and survivor support, but those girls had the most fun doing anything, and they still do. They're still riding a lot more than me. But everyone knew this, that leadership isn't about pushing others down, but lifting people up. Influence is the currency that turns knowledge into impact. And this is pre-influencers, but they shared knowledge and helped shape snowboarding for myself and for the next generations. Final thoughts. I do want to call out Mia Lamson over there. She's got a camera on me right now. But we're making a movie together called Wayward, and it's about the history of women in snowboarding and the progression over the last 4 decades. And I know a lot of the younger generations don't know the history, which makes what we're doing here even more important, to highlight everybody that's had an impact on the industry. There's been a lot of progress, a lot of lessons learned, a lot of challenges overcome, and the new generation is setting the boundary of performance at new heights. So I'm excited to work on this with Mia, and grateful for the opportunity to get up here and talk about it. But we become what we believe. The people we surround ourselves with, the media we consume. I'm super honored to be surrounding myself with you people tonight, and who support this culture, this industry, and the individuals that have shaped it. Snowboarding gave me a path, a purpose, and a family, and tonight I am standing here beyond grateful for every moment that led me to this one. Thank you.